Now are we good? We should be good now. James muted this microphone this morning, which I just realized. And then I realized I muted that last night, or when I was doing my webinar the other day. All right, good. We're finally back. Everyone on Instagram is like, what is the problem? Why can no one else hear? Because Instagram, you're not the only ones that matter. All right, good. Good morning to everyone. We've had some technical computer issues over the last few days, although this time it was purely operator error. It's important to take full blame when you screw something up, and well, I screwed that up, but I think we have it fixed now. So, today is Friday. I want to thank everyone for being here on Friday. Some people love Fridays because the weekend's here. They did their work, now they get to go relax. I actually don't really like Fridays because I like my job. If you like your job, you don't really want to take a few days off from your job. But, hey, it's good to mix it up, right? And that's what we're going to talk about today. Mixing it up. So, what do we mean by mixing it up? Well, every once in a while it's a good idea to change things up a bit. You want to make sure that things don't get stale, right? If you do the same things over and over and over again on a regular basis, life is going to become predictable. And when life is predictable, life becomes boring. Now, some people may say, I like my life just the way it is. I don't like surprises. And, understand that that's going to not be the norm for most people, right? And in general, it's very easy to fall into a rut. If you fall into the rut of doing the same thing over and over and over again, then eventually you're just not going to be happy, right? Life's going to be monotone and boring. And like I said, you only have one existence. Well, like I said before we turned on the sound, you only have one existence, and you need to make sure you make the most of it. And you do that by mixing it up, experiencing variance in life, and enjoying yourself. So, easiest thing to do, a good example of this, is to mix it up with your caffeine intake. If you drink coffee all day, every day, you're going to become used to it, right? So it's important to mix it up every once in a while and have a different beverage. Whenever I go to play poker, I always make a point to stop drinking caffeine a few days before the poker tournament. That way, your brain becomes more willing to receive it whenever you do actually take it, which adds a lot of value to it, right? Some people normally drink lots of coffee, so now whenever they go play poker, they down tons of energy drinks. And while that may actually work, you're probably going to be better off not doing that and instead just treating your body decently well. I'm not saying to be perfect by any means, but at the same time, you need to make sure you treat yourself well. If you're already a poker coaching member, can you get the New Year discount? Absolutely. Just send us an email at support@pokercoaching.com with any questions that you have. All right, in poker, how do you mix it up? What does that mean? Well, I think a lot of people, especially old school players, have this idea in their head that they're supposed to change gears. I'm going to sit there, I'm going to play really, really tightly, and then I'm going to start playing every hand. They're never going to suspect that. And the problem with that is that often you are taking very suboptimal lines. Like, let's say you get 9-8 suited in the cutoff, and you decide, I'm going to play a tight game today for the first hour. It's not you just open fold the 9-8 suited. Well, you're spewing equity, right? And then say later, an hour later, after you think you've established a tight image, now you get Jack 7 offsuit in the cutoff, and you decide, I'm going to raise this 9-7 or Jack 7 offsuit because I'm mixing it up, right? And that's also ridiculous because Jack 7 offsuit is losing money to raise. So you want to make sure you're not completely taking ridiculous lines for no actual reason. Let's see. Some of you are typing in things. I'm not sure what you're saying. That's okay. So how should you go about mixing up your poker strategy? Well, I was actually going through and rereading one of my old poker books, updating it a bit for a future project. Spoiler alert. And I talk about how you need to mix up your play, especially against people who are good, so you're not predictable. And you have to understand, this was before anyone knew what a solver was. No one knew what game theory optimal play actually looked like. And everyone was worse than they are today. And essentially, in the book, I said you should do seemingly random plays in order to throw your opponents off. And while that idea is certainly valid to some extent, if your opponents play perfectly, you should just try to play as perfectly as you can. That is all you can do. And if your opponents are going to think they understand what you're doing based on a very short run of hands, like let's say you just fold 20 hands in a row and they think, okay, this guy's a nit, I'm never going to pay them off. Well then, in that scenario, you do want to do things, but you don't want to do seemingly random plays, like raise the Jack 7 offsuit in the cutoff. You're just going to lose money doing that, on average. Maybe Jack 7 in the cutoff is a bad idea. Jack 7 offsuit under the gun, how about that? So you want to do things that are either the best play or the second best play in essentially every scenario. If you look at a lot of what the game theory optimal solver suggests you do, it'll say to make one play X percentage of the time and another play the other X percentage of the time for the most part. Sometimes it does say to make one play 100% of the time. Sometimes it does say to have 3 different options, especially if you give it mini bet size options. But for simplicity's sake, very often you have, like on the turn, you can either check, you can bet small, or you can bet big, right? And if, let's say, bet big is the right play, some tiny portion of the time, especially if you think your opponent is going to over-adjust to what they see you do, you should pick the second best play, which is maybe bet small, right? It's not optimal, but it will perhaps throw your opponents off and result in them making other blunders down the road. That's really the value in mixing up your play. You're expecting your opponents to make mistakes in the future. Now, if you're playing a tournament and there's 20 minutes left in the day, well, then there's absolutely no point at all in doing that because you're probably never going to play with the person again, right? Mixing it up is particularly valuable in games where you play with the same people on a regular basis. So that's going to be home games. It's going to be tournaments where you're just starting at the beginning of day one or something like that, right? So in general, you just want to make the best play for the exact situation. Balance is a bit overrated in tournaments. You need to understand balance, but at the same time, you also need to understand that the way you make the most money is by making the play that makes the most sense. And making a ridiculous play for no real reason just has no viability. All right. 99% wants to talk about mixed game players. Mixed game players are able to limit variance. Mixed game players have to be far more skilled to be profitable than big bet players. I'm not so sure about that. For example, if you look at Limit Hold'em is a quote-unquote limit game, right? Has limit right in its name. And it's generally thought that you don't actually have to be that skilled to be that good in that game. Why is that? Because your options are limited. And it's kind of like checkers compared to chess. In chess, you have many options available, right? Whereas in checkers, you have like 30 options available, and 28 of them are obviously terrible, right? And the general thought is that as your options are limited, less skill is required. Like tic-tac-toe, right? There's literally there is skill required, but it's an easy skill to learn. And Limit Hold'em is a great example of that. There are games like, Kevin says he loves Triple Draw, right? Triple Draw has lots of options. It has more options than normal because you have to pick the number of cards to discard. So right there, well again, like say you look down and you're playing Deuce to 7 Triple Draw and you have 2, 3, 7, King, Queen, right? There's no decision there. You know you're getting rid of the King and the Queen. The only decision is 2, 3, 7 playable, which you know it is. So you have literally no decisions here, right? In games like No Limit Hold'em, let's say on the turn you have a straight flush draw and your opponent bets. You can call, you can raise, or you can fold. Obviously, you know you're not going to fold. So the question is, do you call? Do you raise small? Do you raise big? Do you raise gigantic? And right there you have 4 options, right? So very often in no limit or pot limit games, you have a larger amount of options at your disposal, right? So the idea that limit games require more skill is often not accurate. However, whenever you play lots and lots of mixed games, right? Lots and lots of mixed games require you to be decently good at a lot of games, which is hard to do. A lot of people think that poker is poker, and if you learn to play one game, you can play them all. That's not true. Whenever you're playing lots and lots of games, quite often in a mixed game, like we're using Bobby's Room, for example, in places like that, some players, like say Jonathan Lilla goes in there, Jonathan Lilla will be a winner almost certainly at No Limit Hold'em and Pot Limit Omaha and Limit Hold'em. Why? Because I have tons of experience in those. And I'll probably be a loser in the other game. So the question is, will I have enough of an edge in the 3 games I'm good at to make up for the losses in the other games, right? Some people are really good at the other games. And part of the skill in mixed games is making sure you negotiate a good lineup of games, right? Like say I know I'm really good at stud games, but I'm terrible at no limit hold'em. I want to make sure if we play no limit hold'em, it's small. And I also want to make sure the game is capped, right? Those are things you can do to make your edge more relevant in the big games. Any chance of live poker coming to New York casinos? I don't know. Currently, right now, they only have robots that deal cards in the, at least the New York City area casinos. Should beginners start with limit hold'em? No, I do not think that's a good idea at all. Limit hold'em is a game that's essentially dead. It's like saying, should you start with checkers to play chess? And the obvious answer is no, because we're trying to play chess here. You definitely don't want to... I mean, there's no purpose in learning a different game for no real reason. I think it's just a waste of your time. Instead, you need to start learning the fundamentals of the game you want to learn, and we teach that at pokercoaching.com, as Kevin says here. What are tips for dealing with variance? PokerStars is killing you and has been for months. Well, your edge is going to be small on PokerStars, right? Everyone knows this. Your edge is small on PokerStars because the rake is high and the structures are flat. And the tournament structures are fast. Battle structure is flat, which makes you have less wins if you are good. It limits your ROI, right? They have a lot of bounty tournaments, which also limit your ROI. They have fast structures, which limit your ROI. So you're going to have lower ROIs across the board, which means variance is going to be high. Tips for dealing with variance: play a lot of volume and keep a big bankroll. That's really all you can do. Or play on a different site where they don't have as much variance. All right, what next? So we talked about mixed games. I didn't have that written on my list. But mixed games are interesting. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, if you are starting at poker, or even if you're good at poker, you played a lot of poker, if you do not have a game that you can play and regularly make a significant amount of money to the point that you are paying all of your bills and then some, I really don't think you need to be branching off into other games, right? Because if you... First off, I want to make sure we're speaking to the right people. We're speaking to people who want to be able to make significant money from poker. That's your goal, right? I'm not talking to people who want to go and goof off and have a party and play for fun. If you want to play for fun, do whatever you want because it doesn't matter. You're just going to lose money and that's okay. But if you're trying to win long-term, you want to spend your time doing things that benefit you long-term. And you do that by working hard at one specific thing and getting good at it. Whenever I was young, I devoted all my time to limit hold'em initially, and I got very good at it. Then I realized that your win rate's going to be capped because back then 30-60 was the biggest limit hold'em game online. So I learned sit and goes, where I could play many, many more tables at a time, and I thought I'd have a high hourly rate, which was true. And then I just grinded that game hard for 3 years straight, slowly branching into the other game, no limit hold'em, right? Or no limit hold'em tournaments. And even then, like sit and goes in tournaments are different. I was smart enough to realize that as a kid, and that allowed me to really get good at one form of poker to the point that I can make so much money to where now we don't have to worry about bills, right? And so for the most part, I think all of you should be working very hard to get good at specifically no limit hold'em tournaments or no limit hold'em cash games. Both of those games you can play a lot of volume because they exist nationwide, right? And also you can play as much as you like. What kind of strategy did I use in those days playing sit and goes? I played well enough at least. Certainly, I eventually realized that I was losing on PokerStars. I'd be essentially like a Supernova Elite grinder where you're losing a tiny bit of money in exchange for rake back, and wasn't worth the time at that point because I'm not trying to make 10K a month, I'm trying to make 50K a month, right? So I was not willing to accept the pay cut, so we moved to something else. Live no limit hold'em tournaments. But yeah, I was playing 9-handed sit and goes. Turbos and non-turbos. Back then, turbo was actually like slow games now, so they've drastically sped up the format now. But I was quite good at sit and goes. You're going to go play your local tournament at a casino. Play normal. Play your best and try to win. All right, so what are some other ways to mix it up? Oh, I want to make it clear. If you are trying to get good at poker and make significant money, find a game that you enjoy. Find a game that has a potential for you to profit, and then play that game a ton. Don't worry about other stuff. Everything else is just a distraction. If you're distracted, you're never going to make it to the top. You need to be laser focused and get good at one specific game. What's the best site for online? I like what Party Poker is doing right now. They're doing a lot of great things in terms of having games that are beatable, right? So, and that's a big site where, again, you can play a lot of volume. I'm sure there are better sites for people specifically. Like, let's say one site just has tons of sit and goes and you want to play sit and goes. I don't know which site it is. But if there is a site like that, then maybe that's the site for you. Or maybe you want to play Omaha 8 or better. And there's great Omaha 8 or betters on some random site. Maybe that's the site for you. But there's not a definitive best poker site. Also, you should play on multiple sites. Don't play on just one site. You want to make sure you have lots and lots of options. What's the differences between no limit hold'em tournaments and sit and goes? Well, in no limit hold'em tournaments, you're trying to be in like the top 1% of the field, whereas in sit and goes, you're trying to be in the top 30% of the field. Very, very different strategies required. All right. What are some other ways you can mix it up? Well, you can have hobbies, right? Make sure you don't do the same thing all the time, and make sure you have multiple hobbies. If you only have one hobby, that's going to become, again, very boring to you, right? If you have multiple hobbies, though, you can kind of do whatever you want. You can enjoy yourself, right? I run into this issue sometimes where if my only hobby is, let's say, Magic the Gathering, then what if I get bored of it and I decide I don't like the current metagame or something like that? Well, I may be bored with that. Maybe I'm bored with poker, and then I'm just bored with life, right? And that's not good. You want to make sure you have lots of hobbies available. I like having hobbies that you have direct control over the results of them. So, for example, going to the gym. Going to the gym is a great hobby for poker players because you control your results at the gym. Unlike poker. You don't control your results in poker. So, you go to the gym, you work out hard, you will see good results. If you're lazy, you don't see good results. I've been a bit lazy recently because I have 2 kids now and I'm in the middle of tons of projects. And, I'm cool with that because I understand what I'm doing. But at the same time, if you're working out hard, you will see results. But if you go to the gym and only do the same thing, you actually won't see great results. You need to mix it up. Every gym expert will know that you need to do all sorts of different activities. Like you need to do some cardio, you need to do some weightlifting, you need to do some exercises that are different every day. If you only do overhead press and that's it, well, maybe you'll have decently strong overhead press muscles, but the rest of your body will be no good, right? And even if you do the same 10 exercises in a row, that's going to be way worse than doing all sort if you have 50 exercises you do on a rotating basis, that's going to be better than doing 10 exercises on a rotating basis. There's an app called Fitbod that you can use on your phone that will mix this kind of thing up for you, and people are having great results using that app. You can check that out. It's called Fitbod, Fitbod. You have kids, don't worry too much about hobbies. Yeah, my hobbies are now taking care of my children, and unfortunately, I can't get rid of them, so I'm stuck with that one. Next, what do we want to talk about? Oh, so when I say mix it up, again, I just want to make it clear, I'm not saying to do silly things. Like, don't start drinking on the job or anything like that. That's not ideal, because then you're just going to start making errors, right? Also, you want to make sure at poker that you're not mixing it up by doing ridiculous things like jamming all in with garbage with no blockers just because you think, well, I haven't done this in a while, let's see what happens. That mindset is very, very detrimental. The idea of I'm just going to do what I want and the results don't matter. Now understand, again, if you're playing purely for fun, it doesn't really matter what you do because you're probably going to lose and that's okay. But if you want to win long term, you either need to be picking the best option or the second best option in literally all scenarios. Very rarely should you pick the worst option. There's just no purpose in that. So make sure you mix it up, make sure you have fun, but at the same time, don't make an error. Is this a beer? Oh yeah, we're mixing it up today. If you all didn't hear the topic, today we're talking about mixing it up. How do you mix up your game without get affected? I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. How do you mix up your game without what getting affected? This is Sapporo. We had I ordered last night on Seamless, which is a delivery service, which I use every day. I wish I owned a piece of Seamless. And anyway, they had beer on the menu. I'm like, oh, might as well take a beer. I'm a lightweight, so I only had half the beer. So I had half the beer left this morning and thought, let's mix it up. It's tough saying that the topic of mixing it up is a great idea, though, because, like I said, if you do want to get to the top of anything, you really do need to be laser focused, right? If you are not laser focused, you are going to be doing things that do not directly add to your top line, basically. Just the most obvious example of this is, say I know I want to become a great poker player. Okay, what do? First thing I need to do is figure out a way to make significant money so that I don't have to work a job. Because when you're working a job, like I used to work at the airport, when I was working at the airport, I was not getting better at poker, right? So I need to get rid of that. How do I get rid of my job? I need to learn to make money from playing poker. So I worked very hard to do that, learning one particular game. And by learning one particular game, once you find a game you can make $20,000 a month from, grinding 40 hours a week, well, there's way more than 40 hours in a week that you can work, right? So then you can spend 40 hours a week grinding out your $20,000 a month, which is more money than anybody needs. And then you can spend the other 20 hours of the week learning to play some other game. Like, say you really want to be a great deuce to seven single draw player. I don't know why, you just like doing it. If you just like playing deuce to seven single draw, well, don't devote your life to being a great deuce to seven single draw player, because there are no deuce to seven single draw games, right? There are a few here and there. It's part of mixed games, but you're not going to be able to walk into a random casino in Louisiana and say, hey, I want to play a big high stakes deuce to seven single draw game, right? You want to make sure you're learning a game that you actually can play. And at the moment, the only ones that I would highly recommend are no limit hold'em cash games and no limit hold'em tournaments. I would not recommend playing limit hold'em, pot limit Omaha, deuce to seven single draw, any of these games, because you never know how long they're going to last, right? You can be pretty sure no limit hold'em tournaments and cash games are going to last. Notice I did not say learn sit and goes. Sit and goes are actually a really good way to turn a tiny bit of money into a lot, but they don't have much of a future, right? It's important to make sure you're playing a game with a future. One time I met a guy who was bragging about how he's the best six-handed pot limit Omaha player in six-handed pot limit Omaha sit and go player in the world. I looked up his results. Sure enough, biggest winner by far. But I did a little bit more digging. It turns out he could only play like 3 games per day, and the buy-in was $33. So he had 100% ROI, but he's making only $90 a day. Is that a skill that is worth devoting your life to make $90 a day? And, maybe for some people it is, but why not instead learn to be a mediocre 9-handed no-limit hold'em sit-and-go player, and you can make $500 a day, right? It just doesn't make sense. So make sure you're learning skills that are actually beneficial long-term. Unless, again, you're just playing to goof off. If you're just goofing off and burning time, none of this really matters. So only mix it up once you fully understand how to succeed long-term, to where the bottom, like the worst you're going to do is make 10 or 20K a month, right? Mark says, how about a mindset where there aren't good players and whether it's not a good play and a better play, there's a right play and everything else you do is a mistake. Doesn't sometimes choosing the less optimal play mean you're making a mistake? No. You want to know why? If you look at a game theory optimal program and it suggests 2 plays, anytime it mixes the strategy between, let's say, re-raising and calling. For example, let's say you have ace-queen suited, right? Someone raises. Very often, the right play is to call sometimes and re-raise sometimes. Both of those plays have the same equity if they are balanced properly. So, as long as they're balanced properly, let's say you 3-bet 68% of the time and you call 38 or whatever the number is. Can't do math. We're having a beer in the morning because we're mixing it up. Let's say you are going to pick one of the 2 plays. Both plays are fine as long as you do them the correct percentage, right? Now, the problem with humans is you're not going to do it 62 and 38. You're going to do it 74 and 26, and you're going to be slightly off, but it's probably okay. So if you are looking at solvers and you see one play is recommended some portion and the other play is recommended the other portion, you can pick either one, as long as you're mixing it up, right? Another situation this comes up a lot is if you look at an optimal 3-betting strategy from small blind or big blind, very often it's going to be like ace X offsuit, king X offsuit, and some queen X offsuit, like 20-ish% of the time with all the hands. pretty hard to do something 20% of the time, right? So what you can do is instead of 3-betting with, like, say, 15 hands, 20% of the time each, pick 3 hands. Let's say ace 3 offsuit, queen 4 offsuit, and king 4 offsuit, right? And just 3-bet those 100% of the time, and then do the other play. Maybe fold the queen X, call the ace X and king X the other portion of the time. So it's important to understand what you can actually implement. But let's say in a situation, we know we want to have a big betting range with our polarized hands and a small betting range with our marginal made hands. Well, it's probably fine to check or bet small with the nut hands, right? So you can mix it up in that way. You're in Oklahoma. Wait. So you're out in Oklahoma for work, so you're going to play in casinos here. You normally play 2-5 with a sufficient bankroll, but in Texas, they only have a 2K bankroll. Should you play... Oh, you only have 2K with you. Should you play 1-2? Probably. Oh, my baby was just at the window, then he left. They mix it up on me. Jonathan, you want to show the baby? You can't. We're mixing it up. So you do have a job. You're single. Nearest casino is 1.5 hours away. That's actually not that far. You have time to devote every day to study and play. Can you make it? Depends on how much time you want to put into it. I would definitely suggest you play online a lot. Every day, play online. But yeah, LV, if you cannot... Oh, look, there he is. He's back. Are you back? Amy says, you're having a beer in the morning? Today we're talking about mixing it up. Amy, she disapproves so much. You want to come shake your head on the camera for them? We're mixing it up, Amy. It's important to mix it up. Why are you angry? It's fine. We're talking about mixing it up. If you do the same thing all the time, it's not going to work out so well for you. Amy doesn't like mixing it up in the morning. But yeah, if you only have X amount of dollars with you for some reason, you know you can't reload, then yeah, you should probably make sure you try to extend it. That said, you should just take more money with you, right? He was once told by a successful low-stakes speed tournament player to play super tight early and then widen your ranges late. I mean, listen, that's just... It's like basic advice. Basic advice is very rarely ideal. Happy wife, happy life. Indeed! Look, she's so happy now. She's so smiling. Did you also realize I turned everything upside down up here? Nobody's realized it yet. I even dropped a book. I damaged one of my books by turning them upside down. Did you disapprove?
Because the titles are still sideways. So it doesn't make a difference to anyone.
Makes a difference to me. All right. Does everyone notice Thomas here? He's such a cute boy, right? He's a good baby. Amy, you gotta have fun. You gotta mix it up. All right, what else do we have? Here, you want to take Sir Thomas? This is not James, this is Thomas. Mr. James, Sir Thomas. This is Sir Thomas. All right, you feel like you don't raise enough in position. Oh, no, there it went. Let's see. You feel like you don't raise enough in position with made hands versus good players. Well, you need to make sure you're playing optimally, right? Go to pokercoaching.com, go through all the homework challenges, and you'll be well equipped to handle all these scenarios. And you have to understand, if something is uncomfortable, it's okay. You have to get in there and make the uncomfortable plays. Let's see. Just because having a beer is a low-frequency play does not mean it is a good idea. That is accurate, Mark. Amy is approving. Amy says, yes, that is accurate. Just because you do it once every year or once every 4 days does not mean that it's a good idea. That is very, very true. Wow, she roasted you, man. Indeed, she did. Amy, it's not every day. Amy, it's not every day. And I'm doing it for the benefit of the 8,000 people who are watching me. All right, let's see. Are you being superstitious saying nighttime low-stakes players are worse than the people who start the day? No, they are. They almost certainly are worse because those are people who are going to be playing after they worked all day, so they're going to be tired already, right? Also, most people work their daily job 9 to 5, so it means that those people playing at night often have a job, which means they're probably not that good. So yes, the games in the evening are almost definitively... They're always better than the games during the day. You just have to ask if you are happy playing the games during the day or during the night, right? Like when I was playing a lot at Bellagio, as a young person, I played during the day because I did not want to be up all night. I was willing to sacrifice some equity in exchange for being on a regular schedule. Talk a little bit slower. It's hard for me to talk a little bit slower. Amy, how do we talk slower?
I ask you to all the time.
Do you recommend taking random shots at bigger tournaments if you're a cash game player? No. I recommend, unless you're already winning a ton of money from cash games, to where you are a professional poker player, you do not need to be playing multiple games. This is exactly what we were talking about, right? You want to mix it up once you already are in a situation where you have no risk, right? Like whenever I was playing Sit and Goes a long time ago, I was making $20,000 or $30,000 a month. Only then did I decide to start playing random $200 tournaments on Sundays. And, if I lost, I'd have a bad Sunday. I'd lose $1,000. But I'd also make $20,000 a month still. So instead of making 20, I'd make 16, which is perfectly fine, right? You don't want to be doing what a lot of people do, where they go to and they play cash games, and whatever they win playing cash games, they'll then play a tournament with it. That's just trying to parlay, right? I mean, you're not trying to parlay. Because whenever you try to do that, you're almost always going to run your money to zero. That's the problem with satellites, right? Is you satellite into a bigger tournament, but then you still have to win that tournament. So you're 1 in 8 or so to win the satellite. You're 1 in 8 to cash the main events. Now you're like 1 in 64 to get any money back. It's a lot of variance, especially for people who don't want variance, which is exactly what that's you whenever you're starting to play poker. You ready to take this baby back? No? He's being nice? If he's being nice, I guess I just have to keep him. Normally it's nice and easy to talk to all of you, but when Amy is staring at me with her disapproving shaking head, it's so unnerving. I have someone staring right here at me. You can't see her, but you can't see her, but there she is.
The lion's upside down.
The lion's upside down too. See, isn't that cute? I try to have fun with this. Let's see. Drink more beers. It'll help you talk slower. I think I go faster when I drink more beers, actually. Question. 14 players left under the gun with pocket 3, 6 big blinds. Shove or fold? I don't know. Depends on your scenario. You don't really play against the same people often enough to balance. It depends on which games you're playing, right? Say you play a local game where it's the same people all the time. You play a home game with your same group of people every week. Well, in that scenario, you are playing against the same people all the time, right? You just have to ask about what is your situation. Is 3K sufficient to play 50 Cent Dollar? Go to jonathanlittlepoker.com/bankroll. Are you coming to Austria, Vienna this year? Absolutely not. My first trip overseas, though, was with my friend Shannon Shore to Vienna. It was a lot of fun. And actually, I went to Vienna right... Amy, when was it? Before we had Thomas or James?
James.
We went to Vienna right before we had James. It was a lot of fun.
October 2016.
October 2016. It's a great place. Do you recommend keeping a stack... what do you recommend for keeping a stack you just won? Oh, I think what you're saying is, should you lock up a win? Well, if you seem like you don't play well with deep stacks, then perhaps, sure. Don't mess with him, Mama Bear. Can someone explain variance in poker? Go to jonathanlittlepoker.com/bankroll to see some graphs of winning players. Let's see. Would you ever stream playing online? I have in the past many times. Twitch.tv/JonathanLittle. I'm not sure if any of those videos are there, though. Please burn this shirt. Zachariah doesn't like this shirt. I decided to mix it up by wearing this shirt today. I very rarely wear this shirt. But here we are today. Sorry you don't like it. Sometimes you mix it up, right? Just because you make a low-frequency play does not mean it's a good idea. Sorry. Did you know a legitimate fashion designer picked out this shirt for me? They think I look good in this shirt. So, Zachariah, you have poor taste. All right, let's see. You're in Atlantic City on March 9th for the World Series. Stop there. You'd love to come and meet me. Well, don't come and meet me. I'm busy with life. Sorry. But no, I'm not going to be in Atlantic City in March because we're busy with babies. Look, I have to sit here and hold these babies. Right now, Amy's getting her 1 10-minute break in the day. What about winning a tournament and then going to the slots? Well, if you're plus EV at the slots, it's probably a good idea. If you're not plus EV in the slots, it's a terrible idea. What website should you play online? I mean, Party Poker and PokerStars are by far the biggest sites. They have the most games, and those are the only ones that I have accounts on them, so take that for what it's worth. What do we say about Fedor Holt's super run? Luck, skill, or both? Obviously both. Anytime anyone runs hot, and obviously runs hot, it's a lot of luck. And it's okay to have a lot of luck. You have to realize, though, Fedor's been playing for forever, and he's had big upswings and big downswings, just like every good player has. People sensationalize the wins, though, and think that if you're winning, you must just be head and shoulders above everyone else. And, maybe he is. I don't think anyone thinks he's bad, that's for sure, right? And if you are one of the best players and you get hit by the deck, then you're just going to win every tournament. I mean, look at Justin Bonomo this year, right? Great player, got hit by the deck, and he's winning every tournament, and that's okay. It's not like you all of a sudden got a million times better last year or this year compared to last year. It just happens. And next year there's going to be somebody else who runs hot. You have to understand that whenever you are looking at these players, they're often playing in small fields, right? It's very easy to go on a nice run when you're playing 30-person tournaments. What about Stephen Chidwick? Same thing, right? I think a lot of people think Stephen Chidwick probably is the best. So if you want to study someone, I think that is a great, great, great example. California has the best poker rooms in the world. Quite possibly. If I had just one option to build my bankroll, how would I do it? Only one. Cash games, but I think that's probably not the right way to go about doing it. You have more than one option, right? Who is better, Chidwick or Bonomo? I don't know. I would bet my money on Chidwick. That said, I would happily bet my money on either of them. The idea of who's better, tell me who's better. We're in a competition. That's kind of asinine in my opinion. Obviously, both of them are world class, and you don't want to play against either of them. When I go and sit in a tournament, I don't want to see either of them at my table, right? Here, you want some beer? No? Let's see. Do you need to have an offshore account to play for cash, or how do you buy? I'm not sure what you're asking here. It's not hard to deposit money into online sites. Make sure you are playing on sites that are legal in your jurisdiction. If they are not, then don't play on them, right? You ready to take this baby back? No? You want to come in the show? Do you want to talk to people? You want to talk about mixing it up? How do you mix it up in your life? She just looks at me disapprovingly and says no. Oh, that's okay. It's going to be a long day today. Can you order me another beer, please? It's going to be a long day. We'll have whiskey after this. What do you say about grinding up a bankroll through low stakes? I mean, mind amazing. Read jonathanlittlepoker.com/bankroll. If the rake is high in your games, just play really nitty, right? That way you don't pay the rake very often. You have experience playing with Darren Elias and Brian Altman. Darren Elias a ton, Brian Altman not so much. Playing with him today. Darren Elias plays good, loose, aggressive. He likes to apply aggression when you show weakness, but he is a very, very strong player. I think Brian Altman's a little bit on the tighter side, but still very good, right? Is it possible to know how much of a good run is good run versus strong play? Play a lot more games. Quite often, if you're playing just a random tournament with 40 people and they're not very good, you're probably just way better than them. That said, you're obviously not supposed to take first, second, third. That doesn't make sense, right? Say hi to Amy. Andrea says, hi, Amy. You all don't know this, but Thomas just pooped in my hand. I felt it. And now it stinks in my office. My office has literally no ventilation besides a door here, and Amy's blocking it. So it's going to be stinking quite bad in just a minute. 15 big blinds with a flush draw. Always go all in with it on the flop? No, Hank. You're thinking about poker way too simplistically. Go to pokercoaching.com and learn. Very often, your best flush draws need to be called, and your worst flush draws need to be shoved, right? Because your best flush draws have way more equity. They don't need fold equity. They have showdown value often too, right? Say you have ace, king of diamonds. You don't need to be jamming that because you're just going to win at showdown. Thomas. John says Thomas donked. He did. He donked right in my hand. My hand right here is under his butt. So, no, the idea of should I play aggressively with a flush draw is way too simplistic. Oh, is it starting to sink in here? You realize I'm about to pass out?
He's yawning.
Oh, he's yawning? You're ready to take a nap? You ready to take a nap, sweet boy? Amy's putting the squeeze play on me. She is.
Babies who breastfeed don't have stinky poops.
Amy says, babies who breastfeed don't have stinky poops. That's not accurate.
That's true.
It's not accurate. But anyway, don't think that you should play all flush draws the same. That's not how poker works. You want to make sure your range is nice and strong, and you do that by calling sometimes and raising sometimes when you have flush draws, because now Amy's like antsy to get out of here.
Oh, he's yawning.
You're very sweet. Thank you for coming in here and giving me more pressure than normal. It's good practice. All right, say bye, Sir Thomas. Did you all know Thomas is 2 months old yesterday, and he wears
2 days ago.
2 days ago, and he wears 7-month-old clothes.
3 days ago.
Here you go. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, I'm in the doghouse today. You know I don't like this shirt because I sweat like crazy in it. I don't know why. And now I have like, ugh, hot baby was on me. Amy's going to mix it up on my head when the stream is over. Yep. Thomas has an amazing poker face. You would not know when he's pooping. He just sits there and goes, chill as can be. Let's see. We still live over there? We are. People asking, do you have a good win rate? I mean, I don't know, man. Listen, you have to understand that you need to play lots and lots of games. Sure, winning 20 euros an hour is great. Play more. Play a lot more. Go and play for 3 months straight and see what you're looking at, right? A lot of people want to know definitively, very, very quickly, if they are a winning player and if something is worth their time and if they are using their time wisely. And the answer is, I don't know. You need to get in there, you need to play a lot. You need to see if your short-term results are actually relevant. Because very often, your short-term results just don't matter. If you go and play poker for a week straight, you're going to get kind of acceptable results to where you know if you're a winner or not. But at the same time, it's only a week of live poker. It's not even very many hands. And you need to play way, 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 way more than that. I'm talking like 3 months or a year. Can you reset your quiz scores? I don't know. Send us an email. Maybe we can do that. Do you think for an aspiring poker player, what helped me the most in my early days of isolation and playing a lot and studying? I guess what helped me put in that much time? Yeah, being obsessed is what it amounts to. Listen, I'm very good at grinding. If you look at a lot of the best poker players, they are really, really, really good at putting their mind to something and doing it consistently. I mean, like I say, I'm in the middle of 3 book projects at the moment, and I'm happy to sit here for 12 hours a day, every day, grinding away, writing a book. Talk about not fun, exciting work. Like, at least when you're playing poker, you see swings to your net worth, which is kind of fun. I'm just sitting here grinding through it for almost no gain. And I love it. I don't mind. I don't mind doing work that I know needs to get done. And if you are a poker player trying to get good at poker, then you just sit there and do it. If you have a hard time putting in volume because you're bored or you just don't care, maybe it's not what you need to be doing, right? If you just don't care, then don't do it. You just tried PokerStars VR. I have no idea what that is. I know Chris Moneymaker's been playing it. It would be awesome if it was for some real cash. I guess it's a play money game where you play in a virtual world, which is pretty neat. Do you prefer playing poker for 2, 4, 6, 8 hours? Depends on the situation, right? If I'm enjoying myself and having a good time, I'll play decently long. Usually I cap it at about 14 hours. But if I'm not having a good time, I pack it up really fast. Fortunately, I'm in a situation in life where I don't have to sit there and grind all day every day. Do you subscribe to the sunk cost fallacy? Well, yeah. I mean, like, say you get a degree, you go to law school and get a degree, and then you realize, oh my God, I hate law. Don't practice law, right? You see a lot of poker players have done this. I know David Paredes did this, I believe. Guy Todd Terry did this. Who else? These are just 2 that went to school with my wife. Lots of people have done this to the point where they realize, oh my God, I maybe not even messed up. I wanted to get a law degree, but now I realized I don't really like practicing law. Thanks for the free audiobook. You're very welcome. You can get the audiobooks at jonathanlittlepoker.com/free. Fitzgerald talks about looking through databases. of hands. It was equivalent to 800 years at the World Series. Yeah. The guy was 70% below expectation. Long term is very, very long. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that, Mark. A lot of people think if I play some short amount of time, I'm going to get really clear results. And the answer is you will not get clear results over a short period of time. Also, time is kind of irrelevant. You want to look at number of hands, right? If you play live poker, you may play, 300 hands a day? If you play online, you'll play 300 hands an hour, which is why I suggest everyone, when you're first starting, play online, because you will get way, way, way more experience. The baby's staring at me, as is my wife. What do you say about the new trend of everybody gets his own tournament format? I'm not sure what you're talking about. I guess you're saying they have these random promotions. What do I think about random promotions? Sure. You find the time to grind. How do you find the time when you're balancing a full-time job and family? When I was young, I was 18 years old. I didn't have a family, but I had my parents and my brother. But I had 2 jobs, which only took up 60 hours a week. And I was going to college, which only took up 100 hours a week. That's 160. How many hours are there in the week? I don't know. I think there's still time left for poker. All right, who are the 2 names I mentioned the other day? Alan Kessler is a slot machine expert. Alan Kessler. Michael Acevedo, Acevedo, is the game theory optimal expert. Any recommendations for places to play in Virginia? No. You can play on the unregulated sites, but I would generally suggest you not keep much money on there. How do you mix up studying? Study in different ways, right? Sometimes watch training videos, sometimes do quizzes, sometimes have private coaching sessions. Do things differently. Does it make sense to play hyper turbo heads-up tournaments for practice? Not really. Because how many times are you going to be playing an 8 big blind stack heads-up in a tournament? Not very often, right? And when you are, you can just look at a push-fold chart and you'll be fine. So I generally suggest no, you do not spend your time doing that. There are 168 hours in a week. Where did I get 100 hours from? I was working 60 hours a week, and I was going to college. Must have only been like 3 full days. So let's say 10-hour days there. So I guess that's only 30 hours a week. So 60 plus 30 is 90. 168 minus 90 is 78 hours left? Holy moly. 78 hours left. We need 56 for sleeping. That leaves 30 hours for poker. It's plenty of time. Volume cures variance, as Jonathan Lowell says. That's right. How do you think I'll do in live tournaments if you got excellent results in Poker Snowy? Those are 2 different games. Poker Snowy teaches non-ICM cash game situations. So you'll probably do okay, but I would definitely suggest you learn to play tournaments. Who are the best 3 players in the world? I don't know. I don't play with them. Watched the 3K last night with 100 big blinds deep, or played in a 3K. Got card dead, okay. Got down to 22 big blinds, got in with queens versus aces. He busted in 20th place. That is frustrating. 1 tournament does not matter, Gerald. 1 tournament is completely irrelevant. Do not think that you should care about the results of 1 tournament. Oh, man, oh, man. All right. I don't have anything else to discuss today. You need to mix it up, but at the same time, you need to be laser focused. Don't forget that. I didn't really think I was going to be saying that at the end of this, but you do need to be laser focused because at the end of the day, you need to find something that allows you to grind out significant money on a regular basis. From there, you can branch out and do all sorts of stuff. And you know what? You can fail at all sorts of stuff. I mean, I know I've failed at many things in the business world, especially, and in the poker world, right? And that's okay because I have always had a significant source of consistent income. And I suggest you all work very hard to find that too. If I was starting today, I would definitely find a cash game I could beat. Maybe a tournament series or regular tournament that I could beat. But you need to have something you can regularly beat and you know you're beating it, right? Again, it's hard to know if you are beating it, which is why I suggest play online. Play a lot online, get a lot of volume, get a lot of experience, and then you'll know within 3 or 4 months of grinding hard online that you are a good or a bad player. You will know definitively. So from there, then you can branch out a bit and then you can continue grinding, knowing that you're a winning player. And then once you're making significant money, that's when you start branching out and experiencing lots and lots of other things. Let's see. Mark says, opening 6-3 offsuit under the gun is what some people do to mix it up. Yes, that concept is not well understood, and hopefully this episode of A Little Coffee cleared that up for you. If you all like this show, A Little Coffee, click like, click subscribe, share it with your friends. We do this Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. I want to thank you all for being here. Have a great day. Enjoy your weekend. Weekends are a great time to mix it up. And that's all I have to say for today.